Are y'all leaving Wednesday next week?
Thursday. Yep.
Start on Friday.
8 a.m. Yep.
How you doing? Good. Hi and welcome from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Welcome into our Baylor Coaches Show. We appreciate you being with us this evening. Cool outside here in Central Texas, but really nice inside Rudy's. Glad you're with us. Our first show in the spring semester, and aren't we honored and pleased to have with us our leadoff hitter for our first show here in the spring, Glenn Moore, Baylor softball coach. Coach, welcome. Appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you. It's always good to be at Rudy's and always good to be on your show, John.
I'm with you. Always good to come to Rudy's. You probably haven't been a leadoff hitter very often. You're more a cleanup guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I clean up a lot of stuff. Yeah, yeah. I'm not a leadoff hitter, but I'm glad to be the leadoff hitter tonight.
We are pleased to have you here. Your season is right around the corner. A week from tomorrow, actually, you'll be in game action. Your first games of the year.
Week from tomorrow, yes, we are headed to sunny Clearwater, Florida, and we'll start off with some pretty good competition down there, and we're ready to rock and roll. It's been an exciting fall, and the girls are looking good, and they're ready to play.
I remember, I think we talked about that tournament last year. That's always a top-notch field, isn't it? And you were happy to get in there, be a part of it.
Well, yeah, it's every team there's a team that can possibly be in the NCAAs next year, so we're going to be tested early, and certainly starting off with Auburn. We have quite a few down there. That's going to be a big challenge to us, and we're just ready to see where we are.
Good. You don't mind that, a challenging schedule, even the opening weekend? I mean, you're not going to ease into it in any way this year.
Well, it's what sets you up for postseason. You're not going to – you want to pave a road to the World Series, but at the same time you have to stay above 500. So I'm looking at the schedule that we have and, finished – we've talked about it many times. Last year's schedule was one we needed to be a lot softer after we had so many injuries, and it ended up the number 2 ranked schedule in the nation.
Wow.
And this schedule is I don't know how it is any easier. It's just really a tough schedule, and it's going to test us, but it's also going to prepare us if we're capable of competing in that schedule.
So you mentioned the injuries last year. That was just it was devastating. It really was. The ladies that you lost and depleted your roster. Is there the silver lining to that is that you made it through that, and here we are on the other side. You've come out the other side, and the girls that were lost last year to injury, you got them back. Plus, maybe develop some depth with girls who played last year and them back also.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better myself. That's the scenario that we're looking at. It is a positive that we have Gio Rodoni in the circle. I'm sure the fans are excited to see her come back, and I know Coach Newman is, and we are as a staff. She's one of the best pitchers in the country, and when she's full speed, we've got to give her a little time to get back into midseason form. But along with Kyla Walker and Madison Kettler, it's going to be nice to see that experience, those upperclassmen back in the lineup. And like you said, the kids that got to play last year much further along than they would be had we not had that type of season.
Yeah. I know you're a man of faith. We all know that. You always are upbeat. You're always positive. But going through that last year, did you have moments of, come on now, where's this black cloud? Why is this hanging over me this year?
Well, funny story. At the beginning of the year, one of our devotionals, our great Central Texas FCA director, Ben Johnson, started the year off with a story of Job. And I let him know at the time that was not an appropriate
right.
Bible study for the beginning of the year. But we all know how that story comes out, and we're hoping that we're on the end of that and looking forward to reaping the rewards of the end of Job.
That's really good. Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy, actually, with what y'all went through. Let's talk about Gina specifically. Help me remember what she she had to go through last year, and is she 100% back, or will it take a little while to get her 100%?
Well, I think the game has to grow her into being 100%, but Gia's in good shape. She's throwing really well. She had a fracture in one of her vertebrae in the back, and a nerve was growing into it, and they do a procedure called a rhizotomy that really, I call it soldering off the nerve for lack of a better description.
Wow. Yeah.
And she's had 3 of those, and some work better than others. The final one seems to have worked very well. It's not a long rehab. 2 weeks she can be back to pitching, but it has to work. You can only imagine the fracture closing down on a nerve every time you move, and a pitcher's movements. You just can't pitch effectively, and a lot of pain. And then she had a little knee inflammation that she's dealt with over her career that she's still going to have to deal with some. So she won't be 100% throughout this year, but she's a warrior. She's a competitor. And, you know, Gia, I've always said at 80% is better than most pitchers at 100%, so we'll take it.
So, and especially for a pitcher with any kind of injury in the back, you know, that motion, that torque motion, are there concerns about that flaring back up, or is everybody confident that she's going to be okay?
I wouldn't say 100% confident because we've been down this road several times, but she feels pretty good. She's pitched in pain. She will pitch in pain, and it's not anything that's, I don't think, long-term negative effects by her doing that. But when you see her out there, she's going to have the same look when she's feeling great and when she's hurting because she's that kind of competitor. But I doubt she will pitch the whole season in perfect condition. But she's going to be out there. She's a warrior.
Wow.
And we're very proud that she has chosen not to hang up her cleats because that would have been an easy thing to do and a justifiable thing to do with what she's been through. But she's a warrior, and she's going to win some games for us this year.
All right, great to have Gia back in the circle. And then Kyla Walker was out last year also. What does that mean, putting her presence on the field, her bat, and her defensive presence back out there?
You know, it seemed every day, or at least once a week, somebody was coming in our Matt was coming in our office saying, hey, we got another injury. It just never seemed to let up. And, man, when we found out Kyla was not coming back, that's how valuable she is offensively. She's one of the best we've ever seen, not just coached here at Baylor, but, you know, you might remember a couple of years ago out in Arizona when we kept walking the Malga, who was the leading national leading home run hitter. We kept putting her on base, and that was a big deal for us to make sure the ball stayed in the park. And little bitty Kyla up there that weighs, 80 pounds soaking wet, if they ever got her out, they cheered like we had gotten Malga out.
Wow.
That's how much respect she has in this game. She's just a really, really tough out and an outstanding player.
And she's back. That's good news. And a veteran player, put a veteran player like her back in the lineup. That's huge.
It's huge, and she's going to be in center field for us. The leadership that she brings, along with Goose and Gia, Taylor Ellis, Nikki Dawson. We have 5 seniors that are going to be impact players for us this year. So we have the upperclassmen, and we're bringing along some freshmen and underclassmen that are being mentored by them. But the culture's really good right now, and getting great leadership out of them. So we just need to get some games under our belt and not expect too much out of this team right away. Kind of grow it back into the competitive team that we've been in the past.
And Madison Kettler was the third one who was injured all or the majority of last year. She's back, ready to go?
Yeah, she started out and played in Puerto Vallarta and had a real good tournament, but glove shoulder that she had surgery on, and she's back full speed, ready to go, and has looked good in the fall, and a little bit limited in the fall, but still look good. And she's been, she's earned her position back, and we're going to see her. We got a lot of depth out there, so we'll move some people around early, but she's certainly one that's we need back in the lineup.
Let's don't even talk about injuries anymore. How about that?
Good, I like that.
Yeah, let's just move on from that. We talked enough about it last year, and you went through enough last year, so let's just move on from there. Let's take a break, and we'll be back with more in just a moment. You're tuned into the Baylor Coaches Show. We're live at Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue. We're with Baylor softball coach Glenn Moore. We're back with more right after this, live from Rudy's.
Henry used to say, wintertime with you guys. Yes, sir. There's some truth to that.
Here we go. Here we go, Rocky. And you're back with us live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue, our Baylor Coaches Show, our first of the spring semester. John Morris alongside Baylor softball coach Glenn Moore. We've got questions coming in a bit, Coach, from the audience, brought to you by First Place Foods. First Place Foods Ask Coach, so we'll gather those and get some questions. And let's get this group right here and right over here. They're going to have some good questions for you, I know. At your luncheons, do you allow them to ask questions?
We do.
All right.
Yep.
All right, so maybe you've answered them all then, but I'm looking forward to what's coming your way from these questions.
Makes me a little nervous, but we allow them to ask questions.
Can Lum ask questions?
No.
Okay.
No. He's got all the answers, so why would he need that?
Well, that's true. You made some real significant upgrades in Getterman Stadium last year. That turf is just terrific, and the new lighting there is just terrific. And more coming this year.
Yes.
Tell everybody about that.
Well, let me say the turf, first of all, has probably saved 3 practices for us already this year, because we would get a big rain and have to practice indoors for the next couple of days.
Yeah.
So it's been nice to have. And this year we're going to replace our scoreboard.
Wow.
I believe I'm correct in saying this. We're the first softball program in the nation to have a video, our Jumbotron video board. But it's old,
That's
and
our
it's been
story.
there a long time, and it's time to replace it. And thank goodness we're able to do that, and we're going to have a really nice video scoreboard. The entire thing will be like a TV screen out there, and we'll put a lot of graphics up there. And I don't know what all they'll do, but it's hopefully they'll be able to put a lot of runs on it for the home team. So, yeah.
That's going to be great. I mean, that's a huge upgrade. I've seen the renderings, and I think I know what that's going to look like. That's going to be huge.
It's really nice, and we're excited. I let the girls know a couple weeks ago, and they're very excited. The Getterman Stadium everybody knows it's one of the top venues in the nation, and it's 21 years old this year. But it was built to stand the test of time, and it still looks great. But from time to time, you got to do a little polishing, and we need a new scoreboard. It's a beautiful complex, so you know that. You've seen it. And this is just going to enhance the fans' experience tremendously, I think.
That's great. Can't wait to see it. Understand that the new video board has been delivered to Waco. They're starting they started the demolition, I guess if that's the right word, of the brick stanchions that'll hold it up there. It'd be in the same place, right?
Well, actually, the brick columns will stay there.
They stay, okay.
They've started disassembling the unit that's up there now. But I didn't know until you told me earlier that it had been delivered. So we're excited about that.
Town.
It's supposed to be done before our first home game.
February 11th
that
is the target.
1 week from next Tuesday, so
Wow.
that'll be exciting.
That's going to be fun to watch. Put that up, and that'll be a great addition. Was the turf as good, as much of a plus as you hoped it would be?
We love it. Just, until you get to camp in the summer. I don't know how football plays on that stuff because it is very hot. But in our season, it's really nice. You can dump the tarp. We still have a dirt infield, so you put the tarp out. You leave it there. You don't worry about it killing the grass. You dump it onto the turf, and it's just like pulling a plug on a bathtub. The water goes straight through and out. And I think they said something like 7 inches of rain an hour it can drain.
Wow.
As long as your drainage system outside the field can hold it, it'll drain it.
Man.
So we shouldn't have rainouts except for when it's raining during the game.
Yeah. When it stops raining, pull the tarp and you're ready to go.
That's right.
That's cool. That's really good. All right, so we look forward to that, the upgrades at Getterman Stadium this year for Baylor softball. What about your team overall? What's your sense of, we talked about the injured players who are back, but you've got some other players who played a lot last year that are back also.
Yeah, we have a good mix of youth, young talent, and veteran talent, some in the middle. A little depth this year. We're receiving votes in at least one of the polls. So for us to have gone through what we went through last year and get that kind of respect already, I think 19 votes for the top 25. I told the girls I think we're a top 25 team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I feel like we're close enough to that top 15, top 16, to where if we play together as a team. We can be lucky enough to not have the injury bug hit us. And some of those other teams implode and start whatever tears you down, and we don't. We can move into that. So we just need to be patient with this team. And I don't think the first weekend can define us. It's just got to get us better. We need a barometer to show us where we are. We're not playing in a tournament that will win and come home and say, we're great. We're playing in a tournament that will let us know where our mistakes are.
Yeah.
And we may go down there and lose 3 games. We play the USA national team, so we're going to have trouble in one of them for sure. But it's going to tell us where we are and what we need to work on.
Do you need to preach a little patience at the start of the year, just getting all the everything in place and everybody playing together, and then just see the team improve as the year goes on?
Yeah, we always want to start fast, and that's always our motto. And we try to jump on some teams early and try to catch them before they're quite ready and be prepared. And I think this team could do that, but at the same time, we don't have, these are not 75 to 100 RPI teams. These are top 20, top 10 RPI teams, and it's throughout the whole season. You get in some of these tournaments, John, and you don't know who else is going to be there. So you go to Arkansas, for instance, and you think, well, we'll play Arkansas, a good SEC team,
right,
test us, and then they'll bring in some mid-major teams, and we'll get a couple of wins. Well, who do they bring in? They've got Florida State coming in. They're a top 6, 7 team, and we're going to play them twice. And when they bring in Kent State, and Kent State's a mid-majors, you might consider them a mid-majors, but they've got an All-American pitcher that nobody hits. So if they happen to pitch her against us, we're playing a top 10 team when she pitches. So we have that at Arkansas. We go to Florida for 3 games. Everybody knows how good Florida is. Even our Big 12 is much stronger, with Texas and Oklahoma State. Even Texas Tech is ranked in the top 25 preseason for the first time in their program. So it's going to be a fun year. I love competition. We're going to have to fight tooth and nail to get victories this year.
Wow, man, looking forward to it. This is your 20th year here at Baylor.
Yep.
20th year, and the most amazing thing is, and thank the Lord for this, your staff has been together for 17 of those 20 years. That's a great record of longevity.
Yeah, I think it's the 3rd longest tenured staff in the nation, and that's I'm blessed to have Coach Newman that makes that 17th. She wouldn't come on from LSU when we moved over here when she was a junior. We had to wait till she graduated to get her over here. But Coach Lumley has been here with me every step of the way. And, of course, now we have Lea Brown from Crawford, All-American from UMHB, that's really completing we need some youth
Uh-huh.
You know, we needed some youth. And
I didn't say that. You said that.
well, I'll admit it. We needed some youth and a very knowledgeable up-and-coming coach to complete our staff there, so we're very happy to have her as well.
That's great. Leah's right over here, if y'all know her. And welcome, Leah. We're glad you're here with Baylor softball, and we're glad you're here tonight here at Rudy's. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back, we've got some questions from the audience for you. We'll do that. That is our First Place Foods Ask the Coach. Plenty more to come with Coach Glenn Moore, Baylor softball coach. Second half hour, Scott Drew will be here. We'll talk Baylor basketball, but more with Coach Moore when we come back. We're live at Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue. And we're back right after this. You're back with us live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco, our Baylor Coaches Show, brought to you in part by Jim Turner Chevrolet of McGregor, the official Chevy dealer of Baylor Athletics, your Central Texas Chevy truck headquarters. Visit online at turnerchevy.com for the best deal on your new Chevrolet. Stop by and see the all-new 2019 Silverado 1500 today. John Morris alongside Baylor softball coach Glenn Moore, and our inaugural Baylor Coaches Show for the spring semester. Coach, this is what we like to call our Ask the Coach. It's brought to you by First Place Foods, Hunn's Private Stock Pickles. You ever had any of those? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, man, they're good. The bread and butter
Good
pickles
stuff, yep.
are really good. First Place Foods, Ask the Coach, First Place Foods, Hunn's Private Stock Pickles. That's a darn good pickle. Pardon my language. Here we go. Coach, first question comes to us from Debbie Dewey. Where is Debbie in the room? Right here. All right, nice and close. Debbie says, when are we getting instant replay? With that brand new video board out there, now instant replay.
I think it's on the horizon. I think we're about a year away. We talk about it every year. I proposed this years ago and was looked at like I was crazy, but you know, you got to kind of let things take place. And now baseball has it. I think we're about a year away.
You were a man ahead of your time, is what it was.
I think we're going to have it in Big 12 championship play this year. I'm not sure about that, but I think we are.
Are you for that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. As a coach, sometimes you could have some reservations about it, but I think overall.
Well,
if it's done well.
You know, our officials never miss a call, so I don't really know why we need it. But
right.
No, we have great officials, and but I would like to see technology be used since we have it to be used to enhance the game a little bit.
Very good. All right, Debbie, thanks very much. Roy Evans has a question. Roy is right here, right behind that camera stand. And Roy says, great-looking freshman class. Can we expect to see many of them on the field this year?
Yes, you can. Well, right off the bat, you're going to see one of the top recruits out of the state of Texas and one of the top out of the state of Oklahoma that you'll see quite a bit and be in our starting lineup. Number one is Lea Pritchett. Lea will play shortstop initially for us while we decide if she can handle that position. We're toggling back and forth between third and short for her and Lou Gilbert. We would like to put Lou Gilbert at third. Coach Brown made that call early when she first saw our team. She said Lou is a great third baseman, and she's an All-American third baseman. So put a lot of stock in what she says, and we put her over there, and she ate it up. Looked like Lindsey Cargill over there.
Wow.
And we really like her at third. So Pritchett will also be in our bullpen. She's a very good pitcher as well, so she'll have to go back and forth. And playing her at short will keep us from playing musical chairs whenever she goes into pitch. So we like that. We'll see what she does. She's also a big hitter, and we need her to protect Goose in the lineup. So that's important. And then the one from Oklahoma is Emily Hott. You're going to love this kid. She's going to play left field for us. Very, very serious ball player that can swing the bat. She's going to hit a lot of home runs before she's done here at Baylor. So those are two of them. We have several others, but those are two that you're going to see quite a bit of.
How set is your starting lineup right now?
It's pretty.
You got a week.
I've got a good idea of what it's going to be.
Good.
So I always say that mid-March is when I want to solidify it. So we'll move some things around early and try some different looks and trying to get our what do I say, the best nine, not the best nine, but the 9 best. The best 9, a collective group.
Right.
So we've got to find out what works. So we'll be doing some of that early on.
All right, good question, Roy. Thanks for that. Our First Place Foods asked the coach. A wise softball coach once told me that you can't have enough pitching. You cannot have enough pitching. And that's proven itself through the years. How do you feel about your pitching and your pitching depth you have available?
Well, we never have enough pitching, so I don't know. We have 5 pitchers in our bullpen, which is more than we typically have. Lea Rodoni is going to be the key this year because of her experience. We overuse Sydney Holman. By the way, Sydney Holman is now Sydney Manziel. She's now married. And we had to overuse her. I feel terrible about that, but we had no other options last year. And we're looking forward to seeing what she can do when we can protect her a little bit more. And we need to do the same thing with Lea. But those are 2 outstanding pitchers that we're going to win ball games with. The others are going to assist them as closers and middle relievers. Lea Pritchett's capable of pitching, being a starter for us and being in that rotation. Is great off speed, throws hard, good drop ball, tough to hit on the inside for a lefty. But, so Madison Lindsay gives the left, the left side, and Aaron Talley's another righty that might eat up some innings when we're able to use her and save some for the other pitchers.
Gotcha. Does Goose factor in the circle at all?
No, we're going to let her swing the bat and play defense this year.
All right.
That was our intentions last year.
Right.
Actually, the last 2 years, but because of injuries, we've needed to pull her out of the bullpen. Let's all pray that Goose can have the year she deserves. She's an All-American candidate, an outstanding hitter, and she needs to be able to sit in that third hole and swing the bat with somebody behind her protecting her this year, because we didn't have enough of that last year for her to see the pitches she deserved to see. So what do? They pitch around her. She has to chase pitches to get pitches to hit. So hopefully this year we'll be able to protect her. Taylor Ellis is looking great. Lea Pritchett's another power hitter that we talked about. So that's what we foresee with the lineup, and certainly think that we can produce a lot of runs. Leading off with Kyla Walker and Nikki Dawson, you're going to have somebody on base in front of her quite often.
Yeah, that's great. Well, season opener just a week away, February 7th. Home opener is February 11th. Coach, good luck getting things going. Good luck out in Clearwater. Then you got a lot of home games, 2 big tournaments, a lot of home games in the month of February.
Yes, we do, and certainly we need big crowds there. We need crowds, especially when we get into Big 12 play, and I talked to some of you guys that have purchased season tickets. I just really need to encourage you to come out and support us and get kind of loud for us so we have that same advantage the other teams have when we're at their facilities. And I have great support. We have great support here at Baylor, and some good stuff going on in Baylor athletics.
I would say, yes, exactly.
I had to go over and visit with Coach Drew and get him straightened out earlier, but I think I got him on track now. So
I'm sure he'll mention that, your input to the number 1 ranking for basketball. Coach, thanks. Appreciate you being here. Good luck starting the season. Glenn Moore with us, Baylor softball coach, beginning his 20th season as head coach here at Baylor, and best of luck to Coach Moore. Take a break. When we come back, the aforementioned Scott Drew will join us, coach of the top-ranked Baylor Bears. We'll visit with Coach Drew when we come back. We're live at Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue, and we'll be back right after this. Thank you. Appreciate it. See you. Yeah.
Or you know what, I can just start if you want to.
That'd be good.
I want to talk about it.
Yeah. I can't believe I didn't ask about that.
Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. Can I have this up here or not?
Okay, no problem. Yeah, it's fine. You want something else? You want a tea or anything?
You got Dr. Pepper or something? Yeah. A little caffeine.
Bobby. Back with us live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco, our Baylor Coaches Show on this Thursday evening. If you're with us live, time for the Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics Sports Tip of the Week. This one relates to basketball, but I think it actually applies to different sports. When it comes to orthopedics, Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics brings the home team advantage to Central Texans and is bringing tonight's sports tip to you. Knee injuries are common when playing basketball. To prevent them from occurring, make sure you're stretching and strengthening the muscles in your legs and hips to build better support for our knees. This message brought to you by Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. From injury prevention to enhanced recovery, team up with us. And ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the head coach of the #1 team in the nation, Baylor men's basketball coach, Scott Drew. Coach, welcome to you.
Well, thank you very much, and I kind of like the ring of that.
Hopefully
let's
we can
keep that going for a while. I tell you what, though, before we start, what about Coach Moore, the 2020 Impact Award winner of the year?
Good point.
Give him a round of applause. Yeah. Now, I will tell you one thing about Coach Moore, though. All right, we had this great 7-foot recruit that came into town. He loved to fish, and Coach Moore said, I got a perfect spot for you. He goes, you come here, you're going to catch a lot of fish. He's going to have a blast. We spent 3 hours on his lake, never caught a fish. The kid didn't come. So I just don't believe his fish stories. Other than that, he's the best in town.
Lost a 7-foot recruit over a fish. It's great. Yes, Coach, congratulations on that Impact Award. That's huge. That is great. Congratulations to you. What a great season you've got going, and thanks for being here. I know you're zoned in on the next game. It's TCU coming up on Saturday, but what a great season to this point.
Yep, we've been ripping and running and just focusing on the next game, and we're in the middle of 3 games in 6 days, so focusing on TCU for this Saturday. But after playing our last 7 games, 5 of them on the road, it is going to be nice to be in the Farrell Center. Can't wait to play in front of our fans. And I remember yesterday we're at Iowa State, and I know going up there, Chip's like, how tough is it to win on the road? And we get there an hour and a half before the game. He sees the student sections are packed, and him and Brock are like, oh, man, this is hard. You know, it ain't easy winning on the road.
He said he was scared when he went in there. But that's what it's like on the road. But you guys and your team have handled that so well. You're 6-0 in road games this year. You're 4-0 in Big 12 Conference road games. What's the secret? What is it about this team that allows them to handle those road atmospheres?
Well, it's definitely not just the pregame meal, although that doesn't change when we're winning. But it starts with you got to have great leadership and you got to have great chemistry and experience, because you're going to be put in stressful environments. You're going to face adversity, and you got to be able to be poised and have the determination and the grit to fight for each other. And when you get in hostile environments, the crowd gets going, and that's when you got to be at your best. And our guys have done that, and I'm really pleased with how they've performed.
Your guys are tough-minded. They're really tough, aren't they?
Well, I think that starts with on the defensive end. You look out there and you got Davian Mitchell, who is a Naismith top 15 mid-season all-defensive player. And then right behind him you got Mark Vidal, you got Freddie at the rim, and everybody's kind of bought in and really focused on that defensive part to make things tough on the opponents, and that's allowed us to not shoot well or turn the ball over and then still stay in games until the offense comes around. And one thing we've been pretty consistent at, we've been a very good rebounding team for most of the year, and you got to do that to win Big 12 games as well.
Really good rebounding, really good defensive team, and you know the old adage is defense travels, you know, so that's a big part of playing well on the road, is you got that foundation of a really strong defense.
And then with that, you can't turn the ball over and get the crowd going with the home team getting threes or dunks in transition. And with the 4 guards, they've been really good at being ball solid. And Mark is tremendous at the 4. I mean, he had 7 assists last game, and really does a great job facilitating. But if you take care of the basketball, you get shots up, and then you're a good rebounding team. Usually limits the transition opportunities for the home team or the other team.
One more question about on the road. What's the toughest place you go? You think the toughest environment to
well, I
handle
mean,
on the road?
that's where I mean, a lot of times you hear Kansas,
right.
and that, I mean, their fans are very knowledgeable. They know when to get involved. They're there early. I mean, normally we get there an hour and a half before, and there's usually a line of 1,000 people waiting at the door, and I understand it's freezing up there. They want to get to a place
right.
that's warm, but that's really, I mean, you go, and I mean, it's at Texas Tech, it's at K-State, it's at Iowa State. I mean, you can go up and down the list. That's why the last 6 years you think about this. Big 12 normally you don't think basketball in this part of the country, but to have the #1 ranked basketball conference 6 straight years, it being the Big 12, and it's never because of one team, it's always the top to bottom. So it doesn't matter where you go. West Virginia, I mean, you got great fan support, and that's why it's exciting to be back home and play in front of our fans.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Every Saturday in the month of February, Baylor has a home game. So there you go, folks. We got your Saturday scheduled for you. Yeah. Come out and support this team that is #1 in the nation. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. Scott Drew is with us, Baylor's men's basketball coach. Baylor leading the Big 12, #1 in the nation. Plenty more to talk about with Coach Drew, and we'll do that when we come back live from Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue, and we'll be right back after this.
Thank you.
You're back with us live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco, our Baylor Coaches show tonight. Appreciate Coach Glenn Moore was on with us earlier. Baylor softball, now with Baylor men's basketball head coach Scott Drew is with us. Coach, you've been coaching a long time, 17 years here at Baylor, 18 as a Division I head coach, #1 for the second time with the Baylor program. What is it from your perspective? There's so much that goes into that. What does it mean to be ranked #1 in the nation?
Well, I think, first of all, every sport's different. And men's basketball has the most with 353. And the parity, that's why every night you look at the scores and you're like, especially in the non-conference, because that's when most of the Power Five play the rest of Division I, and you're like, well, how did they lose to them? How did they lose to them? And that's why March Madness is always so crazy, is because with the transfer rate, the one-and-dones, and it's really, really hard to be #1 out of 353 if you have 353 schools that are competitive.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that second time in, 3 years, we've been really blessed to have players that have been talented but really bought into the team. And it's great recognition for your fans. It's a great honor for them. And at the same time, it's a team effort because, as you know, you don't win because of one player. You don't win. You need the fans. You need the administration. You need everybody behind you because it takes a team to win. And it's a great honor for all Baylor Nation.
And what do you think about the overall success of Baylor athletics right now? Volleyball in the fall was #1. Football, great season. Your team, and then women's basketball 1 and 2 in the 2 polls. How about that?
Well, we had 2012 was the year of the Bear.
Right.
It was 2010.
It was
2012.
11-12 that school year, right?
And I mean this year could be the same thing. I mean I don't know what's in the water right now, but really at Baylor we have great leadership, and we're really blessed to have really good people a part of Baylor University, and they bring in, the coaches do a great job bringing in high character kids, and I think they feed off of each other. I mean, you see volleyball in there in the Farrell Center, for instance. They're practicing hard, they're working hard, they're #1 in the nation, they're doing it the right way, and then that motivates the men's and women's team to follow suit. So really blessed to have the coaches and administration that we have at Baylor.
Speaking of the Farrell Center, home this Saturday, 3 o'clock against TCU. This is Baylor's. This is Founders Day on Saturday, February 1st. It's basically Baylor's birthday, 175th birthday on Saturday. So a lot of activities to go along with that. No better way to celebrate than with 10,000 of your closest friends in the Farrell Center.
Yeah, there's a lot of candles on that cake.
That's right. Exactly. So that'll be a part of Saturday, and a big home game against TCU. So we want to pack the house coming up on Saturday against the Frogs. And speaking of the Farrell Center, what's the latest? What can you tell us about plans for a new pavilion, a basketball pavilion?
Well, I know Mac and his group have been working really hard on that and have done a great job. And hopefully it won't be long before those shovels hit the ground and we're moving on to that new pavilion. And that'll be really a game changer for our program.
Yeah.
And why I say that is it's kind of like iPhones. If you don't have the latest iPhone, you get behind in the times. And with new technology, but more importantly, most arenas across the country have gone to a smaller, more hostile environment where students are closer to the action. Makes it a lot harder to win on the road. And that's what we'll have, and really excited for that, for our players and for our fans, and it won't be long, hopefully.
And you definitely have some input. I mean, they're getting your input on this.
Oh, most definitely. Mac and does a great job with the administration trying to, I mean, it's a team effort, and what's the best for our university and for our student athletes.
What size do you think, in your mind, what would be an ideal size?
I'll let Mac come up with the exact number, but here's what I'll tell you.
Yeah.
When we play in an arena, the first thing is if it's not packed and the students aren't on top of you and the fans aren't on top of you, it's not nearly as intimidating.
Yeah, right.
And you know, they've done studies, and they found out the officials are actually human. and they want to be cheered. They don't want to be threatened. And when you're closer to the action, that's why I always say this. And fans, I don't think sometimes realize, and sometimes they do. I mean, it's so easy nowadays. Turn on those flat screens at home, stay on the couch, eat the chips. But you either go to a game and you affect it, or you can sit at home and watch it. But when you go to a game and affect the game, it has meaning. I mean, if you were an official, would you want to be cheered by 6,000 or 7,000 fans, or would you want to be booed? And I mean, that's why it's so tough to win on the road. Not only that, but if you look at it with player standpoint, most people can relate to this. If you ever hired a trainer to work out in the gym, why you hire a trainer is to help motivate you, push you, and that's what fans do. And so, again, the more compact, the more on top of you are, the more impact they have. And that's really, if you look at our road record since 2010, Kansas and us are by far and away the best in the league. Why Kansas has won all their games is they've always been able to win at home. And when we get this new pavilion, hopefully that'll help with that, because arenas that are more spread out and they're just not as loud, they're not as intimidating.
Man, that's going to be great. So timetable-wise, we still don't know exactly on.
I started digging yesterday.
You
so
took your own shovel out there. Sooner the better is a good motto to go by. All right, let's take a break. Back with more with Coach Scott Drew in a moment. We've got some questions from the audience. First Place Foods Ask the Coach. We'll do that with Coach Drew when we come back live from Rudy's, and we're back right after this. All right, perfect. Thank you. Back with us live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco, our Baylor Coaches Show. We're with Baylor men's basketball coach Scott Drew with us. Coach, how about some questions from the audience? You up for this?
Sounds good. Just make them easy.
Yeah. Well, it's up to these folks. This is brought to you by First Place Foods Ask the Coach. First Place Foods, Hunn's Private Stock Pickles. That's a darn good pickle. First one, it's been sitting up here waiting on you. It's from Ben Hagens right over there. Ben says, please explain, and this is very timely, please explain the logistics of playing out of state, like Ames, Iowa, like last night, a late game, plane arrival back in Waco and in class the next day.
Excellent question. All right, so just to go over yesterday, you play the game at 8. By the time the game's over, guys shower, you do media, you get on the bus, you get to the charter plane. You arrive back in Waco around 2:30, maybe 2:15, and then here's the tricky part. After a game where you just played in front of 15 or 14,000 fans, it's a big win. It's really hard to go to bed right away. All right, so if you win, you're excited. If you lose, you're devastated and upset. Either way, you're not really sleeping. So say you get to bed, like last night, I think it was 4-something when I finally went to bed. And then for our students, some of them have 8 a.m.s. And we're really blessed. We got great students. Don Rogers did a great job giving them a pep talk. She made breakfast for them, I think, at 7:45 this morning. But some of our guys got up. They had class at 8 o'clock. and then hopefully they were able to get a nap in between classes today, because we know the importance of sleep, we know the importance of food and nutrition, and but that's not always easy to do, and especially it's not easy to do after a tough loss. But that summarizes how a late game was like yesterday.
Very good. Good question, Ben. Appreciate that. I like to talk about kind of the psychology of winning. Like after a win, you just feel energized. You're not tired. You're ready to go. Let's go to the next game, move on. There's something to that, isn't there?
Most definitely. When you're winning, you want to keep playing, and you're excited. Although you do need 1 or 2 nights sleep tonight for you and I.
Yes,
it'll be
exactly.
that night. Yeah.
Tonight, yes, for sure. All right, here's a question from Jennifer Willie. Where's Jennifer in the room? She is right back there. All right, you see Jennifer back there. All right, here we go. This is I started to say Dr. Oz. That's not right. Coach Drew, we have a 7-month-old baby boy. What parenting advice do you have for us?
Great question.
Love it.
What I recommend is a smaller ball for the crib and breakaway rims, all right, just in case you got a monster dunker. We don't want any glass shattering there. But as far as any other parenting advice, I defer to my wife. She does a great job with running our household. And when coaches, you're so often you're on the road recruiting, or you're with your other kids, you're 15 of them that are 18 to 22-year-olds, that you have to have a great wife and spouse that's supportive, and she does a great job.
Great question, Jennifer. Thanks very much for that. All right, here's a question from Steve Van Wagner. Steve is right here. He says, another good question. How much eligibility will your 5 starters have after this year?
That's a great question. So Davion Mitchell would have 2 more years. Jared Butler would have 2 more years.
Ooh, that's good news.
And then Maceo would have 1 more year. Mark would have 1 more year. Freddie would be done with scholarship. So, but again, this is also the trick in college basketball, and that is, it's normally you always have some transfers or people leave early for the pros. It would be really nice to know when you sign guys they're there with you for 4 years, but in our reality in college men's basketball, it's over 40% transfer rate, and then that doesn't include people that leave early for the NBA. So it's always it's a flexible situation or state.
It's a different world, isn't it, with the transfers and then the grad transfers? It's just different probably than when you started coaching.
And that's why recruiting used to be a lot easier, because you knew, like, this year we have 3, the following year we have 4. Well, nowadays, I mean, you could one year have 8, and the next year you could have 6 more. So you never know.
Yeah. All right, Steve, good question. Appreciate that. Final question, our First Place Foods Ask the Coach from Roy Evans. Roy, again, is right here. He says, congrats on an incredible season. Are you finished with the 2020 recruiting class, or maybe adding 1 more?
Well, and that kind of goes into how the year plays out. If people leave early, people transfer and whatnot. And so you have to always know what's out there and what's available, because if you don't, then you get caught off guard. But at the same time, we've been really blessed, because the players that we brought here, a lot of them have stayed. And sometimes they've left early for the NBA. And for us, it's a win-win if they benefit. So if they go early to the NBA and they get drafted where they thought they would be drafted, and that's a good position where they're guaranteed money, then that's great. But if they go early and then they're not drafted where they want to be, then they're upset, and then when they're gone from here, so we're upset. So you don't want that. So, again, our community and fans have done a great job with our players, and that's why we've had a lot of them that have chosen to stay instead of transfer or go pro.
All right, great questions. Thank you all very much. We appreciate that. Final thought, Coach, and this is sort of personal, but I love being with you guys. I love traveling with you. I love being around the team and the program. And on the road, I wish everybody could sit in on chapel and scout and pregame meal, because you really invest in the lives of these guys in an eternal way. You really do. And on the road, different assistant coaches rotate with the chapel, and it is always so meaningful. So on behalf of a lot of people, let me say thanks for really investing in these guys more than just athletically, academically, spiritually, socially. I mean, Mac talks about preparing champions for life. You guys are doing it every day.
Well, and it's a blessing to have administration that cares about that and their 4 pillars and allows us to pour into these young guys and help them with more than just basketball. So, and we're blessed too because we have a great staff, and they do such a phenomenal job preparing our players for not only the game but the game of life, and hopefully eternity. So each and every day I know I grow because of the people that are part of our program.
Yeah, I agree. Same deal. Coach, thanks. Congratulations. Keep it rolling. TCU on Saturday.
Thank you. Thanks, Baylor fans.
Coach Scott Drew with us, coach of the #1 team in the nation, the Baylor Bears, hosting TCU Saturday at 3 p.m. And then, oh, by the way, back on the road, we go to Kansas State on Monday, the Purple Palace, where it'll be wild up there. All right, take a final break. We'll let Coach Drew break away. We'll have our look at the upcoming schedule and wrap things up. When we come back, you're tuned in to the Baylor Coaches Show. We're live at Rudy's in Waco, and we'll be right back after this.
Thanks for the questions.
Hey, gotta get with Steve here. Steve Van Waker. Yeah. Mama's you want to come in? Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Scott. That'd be great. Easy copy. That was great. Okay, here. All right.
We'll take it to church Sunday. How's that?
You might if it's leaving.
I thought I had to. I'm sorry.
Jerry, help us, Jerry.
Okay, thank you. Back with us just enough time to wrap things up from here live at Rudy's. Do appreciate everyone being with us tonight, listening, watching here in person at Rudy's. Our next show will be February 13th. It's a pre-Valentine show is what it is. So come join us on February 13th here back at Rudy's. Coach Steve Rodriguez, Baylor baseball coach, will be with us, and Coach Felicia Mulkey of the top-ranked Baylor acrobatics and tumbling team will be here. So those are our guests on our next show. It's Thursday, February 13th. Come join us here at Rudy's. Upcoming schedule, here are some of the notes coming up this weekend. The Lady Bears, #1 in the nation in the coaches poll, #2 in the AP poll. They play Texas in Austin, 6 p.m. on Friday. Baylor track and field runs at the Texas Tech Invitational this weekend in Lubbock. We talked about Baylor men's basketball hosting TCU Saturday at 3. Men's tennis, #5 in the nation at Arkansas. Women's tennis at Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Acrobatics and tumbling at UMHB Saturday at 5. Thanks for being with us again tonight. That is our Baylor Coaches Show live from Rudy's. Have a great night, and sick 'em Bears.